Imagine a story where the big bad witch is actually the protector of little Black girls.
Queer kids.
And survivors.
What does she look like then?
What does it mean to be someone's witch?
Someone who sees what others refuse to see.
And moves energy on their behalf.
Welcome to Witch Hour, where the brew is hot and the talk is real.
And magic and mystery and everyday life blend into one.
Witch Hour is a sacred space where the voices of comedic priestesses rise to awaken remembrance, restore divine balance, and reweave the threads of ancient feminine wisdom. We speak light into shadow, truth into silence, and healing into disconnection. Guided by the sacred teachings of our ancestors, we channel the power of mysticism, ritual, and spiritual truth to spark transformation within ourselves, within the community, and the world. I am Harit Tayanwachsi.
I am Moot Nekbet.
And I am Muteteru Bhaktiba. And we are Witch Hour, the circle where Black women priestesses come together to speak truth, spirit, and power. We are your guides in this sacred journey of reclamation. And together we are the voices behind this mystical journey. An hour of wit, wisdom, a little witchcraft, or brouhaha. So come curious, leave enchanted.
Every brew starts with an intention. So here's today's intention. My power is sacred. My power is sacred.
Thank you for listening and supporting Witch Hour and joining us for our second season. If you are new here, welcome. Or a part of our brew crew, we appreciate you. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all social media and podcast streaming platforms to catch up on season 1 and stay connected with us through season 2.
The witch is often the villain in the dominant culture, but a savior, a healer, a truth teller in marginalized stories. Who gets to decide if she's the bad witch or the good witch? Like, big bad to whom? So I went down a rabbit hole about Baba Yaga.
Yes.
Baba Yaga has so many different stories, but she tests people. And when we think about witches are like thresholders. You have to enter into the unknown. And once you enter the unknown, you actually come out bigger and better than before.
So with Baba Yaga, picking up where you left off, Baba Yaga is a well-known witch in the Slavic community, right?
Yep.
It's a witch of birth and death. So we talked about before as far as like a doula, someone who takes us through that threshold. She can be seen riding in a mortar and pestle. So we all know what we do with the mortar and pestle. So instead of her using a broom, she has those as her tools. And so she's grinding that mortar and pestle. We're grinding early and we're making those incantations. But she's also known for her fierceness. Sometimes she's depicted as having long, wiry hair that kind of is seen trailing behind her. And she's also known, even though she rides on that mortar and pestle, she's also known to stand on chicken legs. She dances on those chicken legs.
I was thinking about the one story that I did listen to about, the little girl that actually went into the woods and she was told not to, but she met Baba Yaga. And Baba Yaga actually gave her some things that she wanted her to do. But Baba Yaga made the task so it was impossible for the little girl to actually achieve. But the little girl went into the forest. She asked the fairies. She asked the gnomes. She asked the trees, she asked the flowers for assistance, and they all chipped in to help her pass that test. So witches are seen as evil people a lot of times, as we were taught in childhood, but a lot of times they test us so that we can test ourselves. It just depends on how you want to look at it and who's telling the story is a big one.
What story is it?
Who's
Yeah.
storytelling? Who's the
Mhm.
storyteller?
Who's
Too.
the
Mhm.
storyteller?
I really, to piggyback off of both of y'all, I appreciate like the reminder that this essence of what would be known as a witch, how the Western culture is like taught it to be. We're seeing it as someone that tests or something that tests you, right? Tests your courage, tests your strength. And with Baba Yaga, I love the fact that there's an emphasis on the fact that she can help or devour depending on how you approach her. And those tests, like she'll give you those tools that you need, wisdom, tools to give passage, but it's a way of kind of proving yourself worthy and having through respect. So as you said, Muheteru, as the young lady is going to each of these essences to ask them to help her, are you approaching with reverence? Or are you approaching with disrespect? Are you approaching with entitlement? Are you rude? Right? Because all of these energies in nature, they all have their own moral compass. Right? They all have their own rules of how they live within one another.
Terms.
And they need to be approached with a certain type of a propitiation for them to be your friend and help you.
So it's almost like those terms of engagement. There's rules in how to interact with certain energies. And when you think about Baba Yaga and Muheteru, the story that you shared with us about the young lady drifting in the forest, because we know what happens in the forest. Initiation happens in the forest. Initiation is life, the forest representing mystery, the forest representing life trials, because you never know what you are approaching. It's mysterious,
Mhm.
right? And you come back out with those added skills, that wisdom, and your crown of glory as you exit the forest. But you got to make it out first.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm.
So you're going to go through some of life's trials and tribulations. So that made me think about another story. And I kind of want us to bounce off both, right? And forgive me if I say this person's name incorrectly. So don't have my neck for poor enunciation. Okay. But the story of Kirikou.
Mm.
Kirikou.
Kirikou?
Yes.
Kirikou and the sorcerer or sorceress.
Yes.
And at the end of the story, because it seems to be a lot of similarities in that space,
Mm-hmm.
Kirikou had to get the support of or the other animals, the woodland creatures. After he dug through that little hole and he was going to the sorceress after he visited his grandfather, who I think I know who his granddaddy really is, right? After he dug through the hole and burrowed with his father's weapon, the woodland creatures helped him to get to the sorceress to be able to relieve her, but he had to go into the woods. She had her eyes on him
She did.
to be
Mm.
able to see, like watching him to see how many trials. And it was one point in the movie or in a movie, the story where he was like, I'm so tired. I can't keep going as he's trying to like navigate these small, narrow spaces and he's working without any guidance, no map,
Mhm.
no light going through this areas, and he's like, I just can't do it no more. I'm just tired. And you see right where at the end, it's like if he one more chop, he's through to the other side. But it reminds me of when we need our power the most, we have to keep going to have that like mental fortitude, physical fortitude, because the witch at the end of the day, depending on who is telling us the story, is helping us shape how we perceive her.
All of this reminds me of I was thinking of the tarot deck too, the magician, and how the magician could be labeled as the witch, but it's like he's the alchemist, as above, so below, and taking all of those resources and knowing that he has those resources and using them to get to where he needs to be, and that's all of us. It also reminds me of how we have to ask for permission, ask the elements, ask to come in and assist us, right? And that's also with like deity form too. There's a certain way that you approach the deities. You have to have a certain essence about you, a certain demeanor about you when you approach and ask for help and assistance.
Keep that thought going. Look, if you approach a wise woman, because that's we all know Baba Yaga in any form of a witch we thinking about. That woman has some type of wisdom. So think about approaching your granny, somebody else's granny, a wise woman. You're not approaching them with Wahala, Isfet. You're not approaching them with disrespect. You're approaching them with yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, right? You're approaching them with a certain level of reverence to gain wisdom, insight, or even just their support and approval,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I feel like these stories and the symbology of the witch, because there's witches in every culture, good, bad, or indifferent, Glinda or Elphaba or the sorceress. It's a person that helps us to evolve and push us to a space where we have elevated thinking, because we have to use not just logic, but we have to use our elemental wisdom and our connection to our higher selves. So we just can't take it by textbook. We have to use we have to have some ingenuity.
It makes me think about the fool's journey as a whole when you're talking about the hero, right? Because the fool is going into that initiation of the unknown with everything available already to them, learning to use those tools in order to master all of the elements from the major arcana, the minor arcana, to become the magician, right? To get to that level of mastery. But thinking about when I think about a witch in the sense of how it's taught that we are to be afraid, and looking at Baba Yaga or Kirikou, um and I'll stick with Kirikou, just the villagers themselves giving this woman so much power because of how she's able to intimidate through her energy of the pain that she's carrying. And Kirikou's he questions, is she so mean? Like that was his first curiosity to even take her on. Like, how does she get like this? Why is she like this? I need to understand. And I think that when we are saying like big bad to whom, when you ask that question, it's like, what perception are we seeing um, a woman who would identify herself as a witch or carry witch like energy? What lens are we looking at as far as like, how do you know she's bad? What makes her the villain, or is she just misunderstood?
She was misunderstood. I think about that type of energy in other ways. When you think about, and I'll just take it to parenting. We look and say, Dad, why was my mom so mean? Why did they treat me like this? Why, when they were really just navigating a difficult time in their life, and this is how they present it. In Kirikou, I really appreciate the lens of a child, because listen, in the stories of the witches, in all cultures, it's a child and a witch.
So,
Child accessing wise wisdom, and a child having a lens of naivety,
Mhm,
coming in with just questions like, well, why is she so mean? Well,
mhm,
Hansel and Gretel, like, well, what do they have to offer? Because your heart is pure. You aren't tainted by other people's perception. Because in the Kirikou asked, well, why is she so mean? He went to every elder or every adult in that village, and they were basically turning him around like, if you don't stop asking why and just know that this is what it is. But he found out why. And once he found out why, in the forest, dark woods, deep dark woods, he found out why. He helped her. He pulled the thorn out of her back. She grew and she flourished and she screamed with agony. And that's an awakening. When you scream with agony and pain, and then she blossomed and everything around her
right.
blossomed.
Start to grow back.
it started to grow back because in this village, like if y'all haven't seen the story or heard the story, go look it up. Kirikou.
It's
Okay.
on YouTube.
I said it the right way. Kirikou. Go check it out. We'll put the link down. Okay, so you can watch it. Right. But he lost his innocence in the woods too.
Yeah. He grew up.
And he grew up. So that child in all stories of the witch or the sorceress, that wise woman who's begrunted or like, like, right? They're really a beautiful soul. So again, big bad to whom?
Yeah. To Lou Hederu's point, it's like you are both of your points actually. You're going in as this very green essence. And I think that's just life. Forget let's just digress real quick. Like not just we can call adulthood a witch, honey, okay? Because they don't give you a book for that kind of growth. Okay. You just gotta take the bumps and bruises as we go and the energies that come with it. But let me go back to what we're talking about here. I think that there is a large point, even as a kid, like for myself, when you're on your block and you're like, oh, that's the witch's house. That's the witch's house, right? And everybody wants to get really close to this woman who you never see. She's mysterious to you. And you just know that you're told that she's gonna kidnap you or whatever. I know that I had that. I had that growing up.
Straight.
Yes, I had that growing up with my cousins and my aunt actually. It was like, okay. But then my little self, of course I'm not gonna go by myself. My naivety was kind of like, I don't know about that. But I still wanted to know, is she really a witch? What does that mean? Like, what is she doing there? Is she like the snaggletooth cauldron bubbling? Like, I want to know. So it's like thinking about the witch. And I know that we also was thinking about like left hand, right hand practices, which we'll get into at some point. But in this instant, thinking about the witch as like a protector and a liberator and the sense of strengthening us and bringing courage outside of us. So I have a question, like when you think about institutions, church, school, media, like where did you first see negative connotations with witch?
But you know what? With that, I was thinking earlier, I guess it's like on social media with, the movies and stuff, but I was never scared of the witch. Like, never really like scared of her. So it's like, where did y'all see like the first like negative thing about witches? My grandmother was Jehovah's Witness, but they called her the witch doctor. But all she did was just really used her herbs, and she always did like a taekwondo and things of that, shadow boxing, and they will always say, ha ha ha, the witch is fighting her shadow, da da da. But like, yeah, where did y'all see
Mujeru, first off, shout out to your granny Dean Kayeni, if she's
the
not here.
kind to
For being able to shadow box, or excuse me, for being able to do taekwondo
And shadow box.
Like, oh my gosh.
Double with me.
Right? Like, that is like the bomb. I want to be the taekwondo shadow boxing granny too.
Right.
Let me be that. I don't know if there was no house, like there was no like witch house on my street growing up. And I think my understanding of a witch was, oh my gosh, like I think I was drawn to it. And I was drawn to the all things mysticism and all things scared of a scary movie though. So not spooky end of magic. I was more like fairies and like in the backyard, literally all the time making potions, and embraced it. Like my family was a family that cooked, that made things, that grew plants. My thumb might not be as green as my elders, right? My mama, my grandmother, and all of them. But I only saw scary witches in mass media, but it wasn't shown to me any other way.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if I'll answer this question too. I don't know if I ever was like afraid I think that I'm probably me being an energy person. I think that if anything, it would be the energy of a person that kind of would be like off about you. But I think that when we are talking about an actual woman or being or person, I won't say being, a woman or person, man or woman, really, but it appears that women are the embodiment of witches or witchcraft in our society's lens. I don't think so. I think that I'm always curious about the other. Like I'm always curious about the outcast as well. So I feel like instead of being afraid, I'm like Kirikou, like, what's up? Like, what does that mean? What do you do? And I trust my own intelligence to be like, I don't think we need to go there versus being like, nah, this is okay. Because overall, I feel like we understand patriarchy, number one, right? And I feel like that is probably a primary push to demonize women in their raw essence. Because if women are not following those patriarchal ideologies of being just a mother, wife,
Correct.
housekeeper, anything outside of that, is feral. It's like how dare you have a coil of hair misplaced,
My
Feral
God.
does feral feel good to you? Because you just sat up.
I think I just had a moment of enlightenment because maybe I didn't know, maybe we was the witchy house because maybe that's how I ain't know because I ain't know what they was saying because we were on my maternal side, like women, we were a matriarch. Like there's matriarchs and the women led the households.
Mhm.
And a man, hey, you got one, cool, but you could do bad by yourself. My grandma always said you could do bad by yourself and really supported your womanly independence. Like, no, you don't need no man. No, you ain't gonna get married. No, she was not one that say, "Oh yeah, you should wear that." Oh, that was not my grandmother. My gra- my grandmother was rich. She was mean, but loving, but
Yeah.
mean, like stern, firm. My mama was too. So maybe that's why I never heard it because we was the house.
Yeah.
And
Because
then
think
it
about
comes
this.
to your
Dan,
mother, your grandma.
think about this because in liberation, and that's kind of like our whole that's been our whole thing. We had a ruse like right, liberate ourselves. Women in tradition went from thriving in the woods, in the grove, because that's where the medicine was. And then we became quote unquote domesticated. And where do you put that? Because as your grandmother was saying, you know, you're not going to marry a man. You don't need a man because at some point in life, it was created for us to need them. Because, and hey, just real quick, not a misandrist. Just want to put that out there. I am not a misandrist, but I am stating facts as far as marriage and the concept of marriage just historically is for number one, unions within tribes, right? But also for a woman to have someone to take care of them in exchange for amplifying a lineage, like birthing children,
Yes.
and then also cleaning. Daughters were sold, traded, taken, things like that. So we know that women were not able to have credit cards, bank accounts. Women could not do that for some time being. So if you have a suppressed woman who has all this power in her body, energetically, that's still going to go somewhere. So if she's rebellious, she doesn't listen and she won't do as she's told, something must be wrong with her. She's not right. She's unruly and or whatever, going into the history, I like history of men lobotomizing their women, putting them in psych wards because, they are having their energy can't go anywhere. They're
The
go ahead.
body
I saw that breath in.
body should be contained it.
And you know what? When Mutnekbet, when you said the woods, I had a vision of the witches, the wise women, the women that were liberated and wanted to be more liberated, going and retreating to the woods. And that's where we could do our magic by ourselves and with
Right.
nature, and then they decided that they wanted to come bother us when they need something from us. They'll come grab and get whatever they needed, But yes, since we cannot be a part of society because you want your women to look like this, talk like this, robots, we're going to go off into the woods, into our cottages where we can cook our herbs, where we can burn our herbs, where we can read our books and our journals. Don't threaten me with a good time listening in the woods by myself, talking to the deer and the squirrels. What? Goodbye.
Cooking a big old pot of gumbo, but
Right.
something too. And that Muheru, I am following you because I'm following that vision. And then how we opened about the liberator, the protector, because then we knew there lied a woman who had these experiences that had to flee in order to maintain her mental clarity, in order to maintain her connection and her sovereignty. And the person who may have stayed like, but look, I need help. They knew where to meet in the dark because the dark was veiled. The dark was mysterious, but it wasn't scary. So this is the part that I saw growing up. Don't go in be afraid of the dark. You don't go in them woods. Don't go down that street. Because like Miracle, they didn't want you to expand and grow to understand that yes, there's a world beyond that threshold where wisdom lies, where knowledge, where mystery lies that you should seek. But sometimes to be able to keep them suppressed or just out of sheer unknowing, right? Or we'll just say they ain't know better. Right. They just kept that storyline like, don't go there. But really, that's the person who can help you in your next phase of life, which is initiation.
Riddles.
And it's going to come through riddles because if you can get through a riddle, there lies the key.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I think about like your grandmother's wisdom. Cause I too feel like I come from a matriarchal family. And, it's like thinking about when you first move out into the world and say, oh, don't take any wooden nickels. Like, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? So you do have these women who they can't tell you everything because you've never experienced it. So you might push back, but they're going to find a way to say to you, I don't know if you want to do that, baby, but in their own way. So when you get to it, that's what you meant. That's what you meant when you meet a person trying to, run a game on you.
Yeah.
I don't take wooden nickels, right? And when you say that to them, they can be like, oh, okay, I know what you mean. So when I think about witches being liberators and protectors, I feel like these are women, as you said earlier, Muheru, who help you in threshold moments of your life. And they help you enter into this phase of coming out of childlike ways into young womanhood, into midlife, into crone. Like there's a woman for every phase of your life that can help you and also hold the moments of those phases where it's like, I don't know what this pain is. Okay. The sorceress and Kirikou, I'm going through all these different things, and you might have someone say, well, let me come make you a hot meal. No, let me cook for you. Let me bring you some food. Let me come, if you're sick, let me give you this medicine. You talked about that, Harit, with the herbs, talking about the herbs. Like, let me come bring you some chicken noodle soup. I know it's like whatever. Let me bring you some fire cider, And I feel like perhaps when we're talking about witchcraft and the negative, I think that is more emotional energy for me, such as fear. Fear is an energy that can cause harm, jealousy, envy. If you have a woman that's jealous of you or is envious of you, that is more harmful. And I think that when we look at witches, we're thinking about there's a certain aesthetic. We talked about a haggardly woman or a woman who might be whatever, but sometimes it's a quiet as a mouse, but staring you down.
Gossiping. All of that. All of it. Yes, yes, and just holding space for the witch because nobody know what she had to go through. You know what I'm saying? And what she goes through. And her going off into the forest or down the street in the house, that's her house of solitude, you know? And she is one that knows the mysteries. She is one that understands the cycles. She is the one that sits behind the birth. She is the one that sits behind the death. She is the one that understands grief. She understands the ancestors and their wisdom. And she knows when things must end, but she also knows when things must be born again. So, powerful, powerful.
We talking about thresholds and initiation, cycles of life, and things of that nature. And when we talk about haggardly looking witches, in some stories, the witch wants to do malevolent things to keep her beauty. We talk about both sides or both hands, but also like think about the haggardly witch, like that's a sacrifice. Like she sacrificed something. When you're sacrificing your beauty, you might be sacrificing your aesthetics, or life just could have been hard to you. And that's your war wounds. That's your tattoos, your scars. You know what I'm saying? That's the warrior energy coming through by way of wrinkles, frowns, gray hair. But we know gray hair. Shout out to my silver foxes, glitter. We know that is a sign of revered wisdom.
Yeah.
It's sessions that say don't mess with the gray haired ones because they've seen and experienced some things. They've sacrificed.
I think there's a lot of shame around aging too, which also brings about that
Yes.
fear, the witch. Like if you see any old woman, how dare a woman get old, right? And then you have these mythical stories about, like you said, this haggardly woman doing these things to steal the life force from a young woman, or steal the destiny swapping and all of this. And I think that we talked about this, it's like, what do you do? You know what I mean? Do we walk around with this fear in our body of every woman that,
Right.
she a little different? Or do we learn her difference so that way we can stand firm in our own difference of what makes us strong? But I agree, like the beauty of aging.
Learn ourselves.
Learn ourselves.
Because if we're fearful of her, that means that we truly don't understand who we are.
Right.
And so if we're weighing our heart against jealousy, or we'll say the feather in my eye, right? Am I jealous, envious, and not addressing my power because, ooh, we got something different about her, you know?
And I'm gonna say too, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna be real quiet. That is how some women of religion treat us. Because they might be in the box, don't feel liberated. So when we are liberated, when we got on the red lipstick, okay? It's like we've heard many
Little
stories about
cleavage
man
showing.
lipstick. Yes, little cleavage showing.
I just
Yeah.
Moo Heteru, don't be quiet, girl. Like, all
Because
right.
said one of my cousins told me this. She's a Christian in her faith, but she was like, I don't know what you worship, but girl, your energy. And I'm just like, okay. But it's like
Energy
she
as
didn't
a
know,
beautiful.
huh? She said it in a good way, but because I don't go to church with her. So it's kind of like, how do you have that good energy and you don't go to church with me? But whatever you worship is, whatever you worship.
You got the glow.
You do. Cue The Last Dragon. Think that, to your point, Moot Heteru, I do feel like when you see a liberated woman who is loving her body, loving her different, loving herself, where you have been taught that you have to be modest and you have to be humble and you have to cover up. It's not clothing and all that. Is beauty comes from the inside out. Love comes from the inside out. Energy comes from the inside out. So to your point, Harit, when a woman sees you glowing and she doesn't feel like, where you get that glow from, let me try to knock you down a size, that to me is the witchcraft. Now, I'm not saying it was to you, But I think that everyone can attest to that. If this is outside the box of witchcraft. Everybody has come across someone who feels like they need to make you feel smaller because they feel you, as they say, oh, you feeling yourself or you smelling yourself. I am. Why should I not? Why should I not love me? Why should I not think that I'm beautiful? Why should I not adorn myself, make myself feel good? Why should I not smile? Why should I not have joy? And who are you and why are you trying to suck my joy up?
Ooh, suck my life. That's what the witches they portray do. Take the life and suck the
They
life
do.
out.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this is where, again, they made us afraid of the big bad witch. By whom is she
Right.
bad? That is a way of like mass propaganda to make you afraid of your power, to make you intimidated by being your best self and feeling your most confident. On the flip side, we should be treating or teaching people respect.
Mm-hmm.
Respect of nature, respect of yourself, respect of being in community. And when you love yourself, you are able to love someone else and
Yes.
be able to give or be able to celebrate their
Yes.
joy, but celebrate and honor your own joy too. But they kind of brainwashed us, lack of a better word, to make us think that the big bad witch is a woman, but it's really these energies. Because look, the big bad witch is male, jealous, envy. It's those low vibratory
Mm-hmm.
feeling or low vibratory thoughts and actions, when really we should be able to say a witch is a wise person
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna help iron sharpen iron.
Mm-hmm.
Cause your granny gonna say, all right now, baby, before I give you this mac and cheese recipe, you gonna have to show me you could boil some water.
Mhm.
Let me tell you something. My grandma did Kaini.
Wasn't ready for that.
You know, grandma, my gosh. If grandma, you will say, hold on, if you know my granny, follow us and share this story with somebody else. Not my granny, well, my granny too, but my grandmother and my granny. If you know my grandmother, in her last day, she had dementia, but she would just say these things. And I always say like old school say, but I really mean like old legend or like old things that old people say that have wisdom in it. Like you said,
Mhm.
Riddle. She would say, she said, I ain't going over there. They can't even, what did she say? They can't even cook a piece of toast or cook a piece of bread. And I was like, how do you cook bread? That's what she said. She was like, I ain't going over there. I didn't eat at that person's house because they can't even cook a piece of bread. I said, how do you cook, grandma? Like, what do you mean by that? But she was really saying they can't cook. And she ain't
Right.
over there because you ain't cooking a piece of bread, Willie.
Right. They unknowledgeable. They ain't got no wisdom. What they doing over there? Like we
They can't even boil water. And I was like, I don't get it. Right? Like, don't go over there because they don't know what they doing. You don't follow. So in reality, we want to know, we want to be able to sit at the feet of wisdom. You want to be able to sit at the feet of a witch with good morality, good integrity. Same way you want to be able to sit at the feet of or get a good doctor with morality and integrity.
Hey, and have discernment to those around you who are ill intended. I think we have to decipher ill intent, the energy of ill intent
Yes.
versus umbrella terming it as witchcraft. Because doctors can have ill intent,
That's what I was
like
just thinking.
have ill intent.
Yeah.
Okay, your neighbor can have
Yeah.
because
Some doctors, some nurses, all of that. All of it. All of it. I
Then
was
we
just
take,
happening.
I mean, that's what we had said before. Like the wise woman, the shamans were the community doctors in practice.
And they don't like the witches and the shamans and everybody because we gonna tell the truth.
right.
We not
There you
lie
go.
to you.
There's
We
the
gonna tell the
liberator. There's the liberator. The witches and the shaman and the witch doctors are going to tell you what is making you sick and who around you is making you sick. Because thinking about this and think about, you have to think about the way people feel about themselves, like how does a person feel about themselves? Because how they feel about themselves is going to project onto how they feel about you. So if you have a person that's negative in thought and they say something to you and you like, well, what would make you say that to me? Like, why would you think that? That's just them. And that is something that you have to say to yourself, oh, I don't know about that. That's every time I'm around this person, I always feel drained. Like why I feel so tired after I come, or like, oh, I don't like being around them because every time I'm around them, they talking negatively or they always gossiping. That essence, that energy is what I feel is the embodiment of what witchcraft actually is versus a woman who is comfortable in her body and her sensuality, her sexuality, and is able to use her voice in a way that loudly says, no, I don't like that. No, I don't want to do that. No, that doesn't feel good to me. No, that's not right for me. Or likes being outside.
Listen, a witch ain't always the one that's grinding herbs and burning candles.
Right.
Not always that one. Or I'll say this, let's call her something else, a low vibe witch.
Yeah.
Or a witch with malice.
Monitoring spirit.
Or a monitoring spirit is not all burning candles and grinding herbs. Baba Yaga was on that mortar and pestle to help through transitions of life, death, and birth. Okay? Think about your transitions of life, any type of initiation phase you're going through. The sorcerers, he didn't have in Kuru, he didn't have power. The only power that she had was the power that the people gave her. Like, stop investing so much power into things that are egregious to us or that because our minds aren't comfortable with that thought. Let's open up our minds to say, hey, there's wisdom in growing and knowing and learning, right? So really the big bad witch flipping it back, like, is the protector of innocence, is the protector of initiation. And I'm saying initiation, but really what I mean are life transitions. Protectors of those who are coming into age, those who are coming into knowledge, those who are coming into ourselves as divine human beings. That's who the witch is. She is
Too.
Yeah, it makes me think about From Homegoing when I think it was Kojo when he was telling his elder, he said, they call you an African witch. So what? So what? Who told them what a witch was? Because she's using what they use at home to heal. And who said that? What is that? Who gave that name to you?
that name. And if they did give you that name, what made you feel bad about holding? I want to ask us, I want to put it out there, if y'all listening or you watching, however you choosing to stay connected to us, think of a time that you may have been called a witch. Or look, because I ain't know, we might have been the house on the street, okay? Or I might be the house on the street now, whatever it is, okay? Or someone may have said something to you where you felt like, hey, did I really resonate with that? Or was I really a protector of someone? And someone called me a witch, called me evil, called me crazy. Were you really acting in malice or were you a protector? Sacred, someone or something sacred? Just take a moment and think about that, or think about a time where you may have been called bad, a nasty attitude, stuck up, okay? Curmudgeon. Was that a time where you were really protecting your boundaries, or why you not smiling? That's what you don't smile enough, or why you smile too much, right? Was that a time where you were protecting your boundaries, or was that something that you were protecting yourself? Think about
To think about that. I love those questions. Mm. All right. Well, this has been a juicy, juicy conversation. But our time together, I feel like in cue Mickey Mouse Club, now's the time to say goodbye. Yes. So, of course, we love our time together. It definitely is aligned. But we hope that this conversation aligns with you, and we would definitely love to hear your feedback. We are going to continue with our comedic phrase word. Heteru is going to provide our card pool, and Harit Tayamwaji is going to give our spicy herbal magic. So, in alignment with our intention of my power is sacred, we are going to give the Kemetic or the Rani Kemet to that. And we are going to say E, or you can say E, Shakem Jasir.
Jasir.
Yes. That is translated into many ways. My power is sacred. My life force is sacred. My vitality is sacred. Who you are in your power is sacred.
Wow.
Shakem Jasir.
To Shakem Jasir.
Shakem
To.
And that's so yummy and juicy. And this whole episode, for real, puts the witch in a whole different perspective because they put us in a box and it really just opened up a conversation. I'm glad, I'm happy that this conversation aligned. And our ancestors really chose us to do this, and choosing you all to listen. There's no coincidence that we're here in this space together, listening to this, vibrating together and everything. So during this time, I do have a card pull for us today. That is from the Rose Oracle deck. I just pulled this card. And of course, it is definitely in alignment. It is after the rain, silver lining, relief, hope, mercy. It's over. Acceptance. So she is standing in what it looks like the ocean after the rain. But after the rain, it becomes so freeing and she's so liberated with the rainbow. So she's standing there. I'm going to read a little bit of what it says. There's something very special and sacred about the moment after the rain stops. The atmosphere has released all that it has been holding and tuned into. The earth has been cleansed, replenished, and nourished. It's a similar feeling to the moment after we stop crying. As the salty waters heal us, what was once overwhelming now seems possible. And while we may not know it consciously, noticeably, growth will soon be here. After the rain is all about hope, healing, beginning, and endings. Emotions are soothed. Broken hearts are mended. Times of trial is over. Mercy can be felt. There's a moment of relief. A new, encouraging silver line can now be made in the distance. What's been challenging and difficult has or is about to ease up for you. If you've been going through a challenging time, this card is here to reassure you that things are about to be at ease. You've been through the worst of it and now it's hope. So the soul inquiry is, what are you ready to release? And y'all see that rainbow, and she is liberated. What once kept her trapped, which once kept her confined, she allowed herself to open up. She allowed herself to purge, to cry it out, to be cleansed by the rain. She didn't hide from the rain. She stepped into the rain, stepped into her power so that she could be liberated. So if you were ever going through a hard time, a season, or a cycle, it has just ended and you will be liberated. So, too, I feel like this is perfect and in alignment.
I receive all of that. Can you put that card in a camera closer so I can see that? I need to see it with my eyes because I feel it in my spirit.
Right.
I need to see it a little closer. I wish I had my glasses on. Put my
Right.
glasses on.
Absolutely. Yes. And we will take a picture. But yes, look at her. The rainbow and surrendering, the sun shining. Yeah. Resting.
Definitely. Give me
'Cause
the
we
pot
know
of gold, honey, at the end of that rainbow.
this rainbow is a
Her
And your
hands
slide.
tools go,
over
baby.
too,
I'm just a rich thing. Yes. Slide down
Hands,
to it.
hands up, prayers come down. Right. Prayers come down. So Hareed has our herbal magic for this week.
So you all know my going songs and phrases. And when we talked about herbal magic, all I kept hearing was sprinkle me, man. Sprinkle me, man.
Listen.
Okay. So use this to sprinkle on your candles, to sprinkle in the bath. You all know I love, love, love herbal magic. I do feel like it is God's gift to us to help us meet whatever we need to meet in a threshold, or whether we are in the midst of our storm, we always have what we need around us, within us. And herbs can help amplify our healing by way of prayer, by way of meditation, by way of just use. Okay. So this herb is one of my top 3 favorite herbs, and it's agrimony. Agrimony. Agriony. Agrimony. And agrimony can be used to break cross conditions. So if we're thinking about a cross condition, think about hexing, things like that. If we want to say those things. Or we could have been right before the rainbow, or we're in that liminal space. Like, I'm not quite where I used to be, and I'm not where I want to be. Agrimony can help us through that threshold. It's also known as church steeple. So some people may call it church steeple, and it's used to address maybe like gossip, evil eye, to ward off things. It is always good if you are feeling blocked in your prayers. If you're feeling blocked in your mind and you're like, look, I need my mind to be open. I want to open my mind, my thoughts, and my spirit to accept the things that are for me. Agrimony is the herb you. I would suggest using it in a bath. I would suggest using it on a candle. I would suggest using it as in a meditation satchel. I would not suggest ingesting it. However, I would suggest using it in other ways. If you want to put it in your bath, you can break it up. You can crush it up in your hands, or you can use Baba Yaga's mortar and pestle and break it up, okay? And then put it in the pot to steep as if you are brewing tea for yourself, and then put it in your bath. Or if you just want to just but use that agrimony. One of my top 3 favorite herbs, okay? Agrimony.
Too. Wow. Do I win it? Well, we pray that you all take this wisdom, this wit and wisdom and brouhaha, and join us in the conversation, because your voices matter to us. Share your thoughts, your questions, any magic that you want to share with us. Connect with us on all social media platforms, which our WTCH OUR all underscore, or connect with us in our email at whichhourpodcast@gmail.com. Until we commune again, Shemimotep.
Shemimotep.